prior to marriage, I was not a fan of structure and discipline. Now, don't get me wrong.
You were disciplined.
I was disciplined.
You weren't structured.
I wasn't structured. And so, I would be disciplined to get my homework done. I would be disciplined to work out. I would be disciplined in a lot of areas, but I hated structure. And what marriage has taught me is that there's a lot of value that comes from structure.
Hey, 1 Degree fam. I'm Nathaniel.
And I'm Zan. And this is the 1 Degree Podcast, where we talk about what it looks like to be married as followers of Jesus.
Look, we know that life gets full. Marriage, kids, work, church, sports, the list goes on and on. But we believe that a thriving marriage does not happen by accident.
Each episode will give you real conversations, practical tools, and biblical encouragement to help you connect deeply with your spouse and live on mission together.
So, whether you're folding laundry, driving to work, or maybe even working out, we're glad you're here with us.
Let's dive in. What is up, 1 Degree fam?
What is up, 1 Degree fam? Welcome back to the comfy, cozy, virtual leather couch. It's so funny to me that it took you about 3 years into this podcast to understand why I said leather couch at the beginning of every episode.
I don't know that I engaged enough brain cells around it. That's probably why it took so long. But yeah, if you didn't hear that episode, I have no idea what episode it was on. I was like, I've always kind of wondered why you say that when we're sitting in chairs at our kitchen table, even though I love it. I love the idea of a couch. So that was like kind of the premise of this podcast. Is like we're just sitting across the couch from friends. But then I was like, oh, it's a virtual couch. Like it can be whatever we want it to be. Okay. I still think it would make more sense if we were sitting on a nice leather couch. Maybe one day if we have like a podcast studio, we'll have a nice leather couch.
Maybe.
So this week, we're going to dive in.
Yeah.
I hate that transition or that intro, but it's just natural.
We're going to be talking about six ways that marriage has changed us in both good and bad ways. Yeah, because we're here for the good, the bad, the ugly. We're here to keep it
That was
honest.
a Lecrae song.
Oh, the good, the bad, the ugly?
Yeah, it was actually really crazy about
Yeah, I think
abortion.
I remember. Yeah, I remember that.
It's like a 10th grade bop.
But we're here to keep the conversation honest and real. That's
familiar.
Yes, it is. It should be familiar.
We're here to keep the conversation honest. Is it like becoming something?
Yes.
Wait, you listened to that?
I mean, I used to a lot.
I mean, I haven't listened to it in like 3 years. That's why I was like, I can't even. Have you listened to it recently?
No.
I mean, it's a good podcast. I just like kind of forgot about it. Okay, that's funny. I bet that's not their intro anymore if I had to guess.
Yeah, well, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, we're going to go ahead and jump right in instead of dive right in because Zan said that she didn't like dive right in.
All right.
Number
Kick
one.
it off. Oh, we're just kicking it off with number one?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, okay, we don't have to kick off. We can give a little bit of context to this.
We've probably given enough.
Well, I was just going to say that if you've been married for any length of time, you know that marriage, it forces you to either change and to grow or...
to sink or swim, baby.
Yeah, honestly.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
No, it's true.
I mean, we talk about it, of marriage can be one of the best things that ever happens to you next to salvation as far as your self-sanctification goes, because did I say salvation, not sanctification at first? I meant to say, I think I said it right, but those words are getting crossed in my brain. But yeah, because it can be something that sanctifies you unlike any other experience, and especially if you have kids as part of your family green. Are you watching this?
Yes.
I'm trying to fix the mic because it just keeps slowly. I've never had that happen.
I think it's got to be this one.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out like which hinge, but I'm not like a structural engineer here. Okay. You sure it's not going to be?
Yeah,
okay.
I think that's the right hinge.
Or it can bring out the absolute worst in you, and you cannot use that as an opportunity for growth, and you can fall into that camp of those people that say that marriage is the worst thing. Don't get married. Your life will never be the same in all the worst ways. So
yeah,
we're going to go through some 6 ways.
Good and bad.
Okay, number 1. Our sin has been more clearly revealed than ever prior to marriage.
Yeah, and I think that I want to make clear here is that marriage doesn't make you a more sinful person or anything like that. More so, marriage just exposes sin that you are normally able to keep hidden better.
Yeah.
It's like that analogy of one of my seminary professors always used the analogy of a coffee mug. If you are walking with a coffee mug and then someone bumps into you and spills it, it doesn't make you, have the coffee. Like it just reveals when you spilled that coffee, it revealed what was in the coffee mug, like bumping and spilling or anything like
I
that.
do understand it now, but at first I was
You
like,
thought
it
I was gonna
doesn't
say
make
it
you
does
have that coffee. No, I was like, this isn't lining up, but I get it. Yeah.
it more so, yeah, exactly. Because like, if
You still
you,
had that coffee. It just poured out
yeah,
in that moment. And just so obviously
it reveals
Ty,
what was in the mug.
you were impatient, but marriage draws the impatience out of you through circumstances.
Yes.
And same thing with anger. It kind of goes with that having kids and not analogy, real life scenario of, oh, I was never an angry person until I had kids. And it's like, no, you were. You absolutely were as much of an
Yeah.
angry person. You have just now been able to see that fruit in your life because it has been challenged or it has been brought out of you by your circumstances. And so, yeah, I think that, yeah, all the reasons, if you're married, you know what we're talking about, but to give examples of like, okay, I think impatience is probably one of, maybe I'm projecting my own on everyone else, but I think that's one of the first things you notice of like the classic, uh, he never gets any of his clothes in the hamper or like he leaves his dishes in the sink, those kind of things. I feel like those are like the early wife complaints of like, oh, we're just figuring out the different chore delegations. And sometimes it's flipped. Sometimes she's, whatever. But those things I think are at the root, you're angry or impatient about it. It's not like the dishes themselves aren't the problem. It's how you feel about the dishes and you feel about the lack of things being done. And those are being brought out of you by being in close proximity to somebody. We were talking about this the other night, I think, in context of this episode. But you're saying, like, if you're not forced to do life so closely with another person, a lot of these things would never be revealed. Like, I'm thinking if I lived in a house alone and all I did was work my schedule and decide when I work out and decide when I get groceries and decide what I eat and when I eat. Like, if all I'm doing is running my own life, there are very few things that are going to like cause extra stress and anger. It's like I'm ultimately, for the most part, autonomous over my decisions. When you have another person in proximity for all the micro and macro things of like their calendar, their stress, their things, but then also like their messes. I don't know. I just feel like it just brings more out of you. What are you holding in? You're not saying anything.
No, I was just listening.
I'm just thinking close proximity reveals your sin more clearly.
Yeah, and I think that it's naturally, unless we are intentional about confessing our sin, which I think we should be. If you've listened since the early days, I used to talk about the importance of an accountability group. And unless you are intentional about accountability and confessing your sin to one another, then you are naturally going to try to hide your sin. And I think that's like natural inclination. We don't want to have other people know our weaknesses. We don't want to have other people know where we fall short. And I think that marriage, even if you do try to hide your sin, it's really hard to do so from your spouse. And marriage reveals a lot of sinful tendencies that you have. So I think that that's just a component of marriage.
It's that idea of being fully known. There's a dichotomy of that being, I think it's all, I was going to say there's the good and the bad of that, but it's all good ultimately. There's the easier and the hard of that,
What would you say for us, like what sin has been most clearly revealed in our marriage for each of us?
For me, I would say control. Like that's not necessarily a sin in and of itself, but like my desire to have control of things. I think that I don't know, that comes up a lot of I want to change the way others behave by doing something. And like in our marriage, it's like I want you to do things my way. I don't know, right? When you say that that's a
Well, yeah, I think what you're trying to get at though is your whole life you've like
Well, yes, but I was thinking, okay, that's not necessarily marriage itself. But yes, my whole life I have kind of had this deep-seated like belief, maybe subconscious belief, that if I do things, I can influence the way, like I can influence other people's desire to do them. For instance, if I this is like a silly example, but this is probably something that 10-year-old me would have believed of, like if we're on vacation and I work out, or like I only eat healthy foods, then everyone around me is going to want to work out and only eat healthy foods. Or if I'm disciplined in this area, then other people will want to be like, I think I genuinely have this desire for other people to grow, but I like think that I can control their actions. And I sometimes take personally when other people aren't growing.
And I think that there is a kernel of truth of like you can inspire people through your actions, but also I think that you can. I think it takes more intentionality than just like, oh, I'm going to do this thing to try to inspire people.
Yeah, I don't think that's not necessarily the same thing as what I was saying in our marriage, but
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand, I guess, where you're saying control in our marriage. Like, what are you referring to?
like you with the different standards of cleaning. Sometimes you'll be like, "Well, you wanted me to do it your way."
Yeah, I guess that's
And I'm
fair.
like, "I do. I absolutely do want it to be done my way. I want the house to be cleaned the way I want it. I want you to put your t-shirts away in the drawer the way I have them and that kind of
That
thing."
doesn't, I just still don't get that because it's like my
Oh,
t-shirt drawer. Like, you don't have to go into my t-shirt
I
drawer.
do.
It's
Every
my t-shirt
single
drawer.
time I put away the
No,
laundry.
but I like a lot of times I put away my t-shirts and you get upset about how I put away my t-shirts.
Because then I know when I go to put the t-shirts away, they're not going to fit.
Okay, then
because
just
they're-
leave the t-shirts off to the side. And I can be the
Exactly.
only,
Here is our sin on display.
and I can be the only one that puts it away. I just don't get that.
It just like I can lay in bed away at night and think about how unruly your t-shirt drawer is, and it'll just keep me up. Yeah.
Okay. What would you say for me?
Well, I had to say it for myself. Why don't you say it for you? Not that I have something in my head.
I would say I have a tendency to get frustrated. Just like if bedtime doesn't go how I want it to go, or bookshelves aren't going how I want them to be hung.
Oh, I thought you meant they were like disorderly. I'm like,
no,
no.
like trying to hang bookshelves. That's the most, and I've grown in this, but when I'm trying to do a big project and it's not going well,
You're not
I
handy.
get angry.
And when you're being put to the test to try to be handy,
Yeah,
your
that's
sin is revealed.
it's probably the biggest like anger sin being revealed is when I'm doing house projects.
Yeah.
But I've grown in it. I have.
You have. We assembled an entire cabinet without anything.
Yeah, and I assembled the whole kids' play thing outside pretty seamlessly.
Alrighty, number 2. Let's move on.
All right.
I just feel like we're taking that one slow.
Number 2.
We've been forced to think about other people more, especially each other. I think this kind of goes hand in hand because sin of selfishness is the antidote is selflessness.
And I think that the key thing about marriage, and this is obviously you can go into marriage and you can still be selfish. But I think that if you're doing marriage right and you are a Christian and you are genuinely seeking to put your spouse's needs above your own, like it genuinely forces you to think about others more than you would probably in any other context. I remember I just read an article and it was written and it was like a question and response and it was specifically single people and it was like why they're single and all that kind of stuff. And one of the responses was just, oh, I love being single because I get to pick what TV show I watch every night. I get to pick what dinner I have every night. I get to pick how I vacation. I get to pick this. And it was so self-centered of I get to do whatever I want to do. And that is not the purpose of life, especially if you're a Christian. And so I think marriage, the cool thing about it is you are forced to think about other people, whether it be, for Zan, she for some reason doesn't like getting water before going down to bed. She waits until we're both in bed and then is like, I would love some water.
No,
Or
but
something
once
like
I'm
that.
in bed, whatever it is, whether it's turning off the heater or getting water or
She doesn't want to
whatever.
get out of
I
bed.
do not, because once I'm in bed, that's like a holy time for me of like, oh my goodness, I have just all my inhibitions have dropped. I am like, maybe that's not the right word. Just like all the stresses of the world have faded away and I don't want to do anything else.
Yeah. And I want to be clear. Paul talks about in scripture that singleness is actually a blessing because you can be more focused on God. Like you don't have to be married in order to learn how to care about
That's true.
others and
That's a
to
good
love
point.
others. And so I do want to make that point clear. But I think that especially in Western culture, singleness, that's not how singleness is celebrated. It's not this idea of like, oh, you can be more fully devoted to God. It's, oh, singleness
You
is
can be fully
awesome because you can
devoted to
devote it to yourself.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, especially in our Western context, I think that for us, marriage has forced us to think about others, specifically each other, in ways that we may not otherwise have done so.
I think for all of these things, I'm like, maybe it's my personal, but I would say having kids
Yeah.
is like these things amplified even.
Yes.
Having kids reveals sin like marriage didn't even for me,
Yeah.
because they're that much more that they're in that much closer proximity. There's more of them. And then forcing to think about other people, like
Yeah.
for the most part, when it was just us in marriage, yes, there was definitely more sanctification and selflessness than if we had been single. But still, like, we're adults and it's,
Yeah, it's like I could go on a long camping trip and be like, oh, she's going to be fine and, all that kind of stuff. I didn't
well,
really have
you
to.
do that when you have kids. It's like, oh no, you're now leaving her alone.
Yeah.
Me alone with kids. Like, there's just so many more factors that go into everything. Like,
Just like you're about to go on a work trip and leave me alone with the
I'm
kids.
leaving your mom alone for the majority of it.
A lot of times it's me.
I know, but yes, it goes
How the turntables turn.
how turntables turn, but it goes both ways.
But yeah, I think that marriage and kids, it definitely has forced us to think about other people more. And I think that you can use that to then cause you to think about other people outside of your marriage.
Yeah, for sure.
If you allow
I
it.
think that selflessness and I guess just selflessness is a muscle that you work. And the more reps you get in marriage, the more natural it is to get in with other people,
Yeah.
Number
Number
3.
3,
Ooh.
it has caused us to be more structured and disciplined. And I would say that this is especially me because prior to marriage, I was not a fan of structure and discipline. Now, don't get me wrong.
You were
I was
disciplined.
disciplined.
You weren't structured.
I wasn't structured. And so, I would be disciplined to get my homework done. I would be disciplined to work out. I would be disciplined in a lot of areas, but I hated structure. I took pride in the fact that I was an Enneagram 7 and I loved fun and I loved spontaneity and I was egotistically the best Enneagram that could possibly exist. Like all other Enneagram 7s think that they are. They are a gift to the world is how they perceive themselves.
No, that's not true.
No, I know. They think that they are the best there is.
Fun.
Yes,
like that's
they're
what
the
a 7
most
would
fun.
feel like.
And I would take pride in the fact of, I don't like to be tied down. I want to be able to go do whatever I want, whenever I want. And I love being spontaneous. And structure hampers you from doing that. And what marriage has taught me,
more different.
And what marriage has taught me is that there's a lot of value that comes from structure. If you've listened to us in any of our podcasts, you know how much structure we have, whether it comes to, hey, we have a conflict resolution plan, or when it comes to kids' bedtime, or when it comes to our weekly marriage meeting. And I think that having that structure then gives us, especially when you have kids, it's very hard to be spontaneous. Like you have to be intentional to be spontaneous.
Yeah. And say what you mean by that.
I was just saying of like, you can't just, it's a Wednesday night at 10 p.m. and I want to go stargazing. Well, no, like you've got kids that are going to be up in the middle of the night or early in the morning. You have to go to work the next day. You can't just it's more difficult to be spontaneous, but when you have structure, I was just going to say like it provides joy in life and it provides a way to, I don't know.
I wanted to see what you meant by you need to have intentionality to be spontaneous.
Oh, I was just going to say it makes it easier to be spontaneous in the sense of, okay, I have structure on regular life. When we hit the weekend, it makes it easier to be spontaneous, but you also take more joy and appreciate the spontaneity more when you have regular structure in your life, like when it's not a normal event.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that also the structure and discipline to do things well, do the things that you need to do well to, like have your house kept and your work done and your spiritual discipline strong. Like when there's structure in those areas, then there's more freedom for like spontaneity when it comes up without sacrificing the things that matter most, Like
Yeah.
you've maintained your relationships and your priorities and all of those things. So,
And I think for me specifically, I've just seen the value of having structure in life.
yeah.
Like I've seen the fruit that comes out of, hey, old pre-marriage Nathaniel would be like, "Ugh, a weekly marriage meeting. Why do you even need to have that?" But I
Mhm.
see the fruit that has come out of doing that in our life,
Yeah.
or, a conflict plan. That sounds stuffy, just like handle it or it'll just go how it goes sort of deal. But I've seen the fruit that comes out of being intentional when it comes to conflict.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like in every area of life, having structure, rhythms, I think that from a young age, there's studies on that with kids. It's like, I think we're wired for some level of that, of just predictability and
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Number 4, we've had to learn how to handle conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Said, or segue from that conflict plan that you're talking about. So, yeah, that was definitely, if you've listened to our life, our story, our podcast, or our episodes about that, we struggle with conflict, I think, a lot in dating, far more than most people. Most people have that honeymoon stage through dating and early marriage, and then like reality hits later on. Ours was kind of flipped, I would say. We were two very strong personalities from the beginning. I think we were also very committed and loyal from the beginning. I think that was kind of part of it, of like,
Yep.
we know we're in this and we're very committed to being in this. And I say that in dating, of like, we were like, okay, we think we're gonna get married or we wouldn't be dating right now. So like, let's hash it out, essentially. That was kind
Mm-hmm.
of our mentality of like, this is worth it. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't have fought as much. We would have just broken up. But yeah, we didn't have necessarily the skills to do it well. We just kind of had to hash it out for a year or two of like, I'm thinking dating and early marriage. But yeah, we basically just had to learn. I think those are skills. They're skills and they're muscles, again, not to keep using that metaphor, but they're muscles that you have to you have to strengthen, and you do strengthen through doing it repeatedly. But we had to learn how to calmly bring things up. We had to learn how to,
View each other as teammates instead of
yeah, I
opponents.
think that was a big thing. We're both competitive and we both want to win. And I think we're both also very, yeah, we're just
Hard-headed.
hard-headed, and neither of us is gonna be passive in a conflict. I think a lot of
Yeah.
times that's the dynamic in a marriage, of like, somebody's gonna shut down and be quiet and somebody's gonna be more aggressive, and we're both just aggressive. We'll
Yep.
just both keep amplifying things.
That's like our natural sin tendency.
Yeah, not like we're screaming and fighting, like, but yeah, just one of us isn't gonna shut down, most
Yeah.
likely. And so, um, yeah, we just had to learn the value of, honestly, like, leaning into the Lord in those moments of our conflict plan is stop, remind each other we're on the same team, pray, and I think that has almost become, for me, a it's, like, more of a spiritual thing, I would say, of, like, how do I, in this moment, like, simmer down all of my sinful emotions and, like, pray internally for, like, on my own before even coming to you, and, like, feeling the fruit of the Holy Spirit, like, that's kinda how conflict
Yeah.
has evolved for me, of feeling like putting off all of my sinful frustrations in the moment and relying on the Holy Spirit to give me patience and, like, resolve the conflict. What
Yeah.
about you?
No, I'd agree
Or
with all that.
you could listen to any of our episodes on conflict of, like, how this practically fleshes
Yeah.
out, but
And we still have room to grow. I think last night shows that.
yeah, I don't even remember. Well, we were just like chippy with each other after work, and then bedtime took forever, and then we honestly never even just had a moment to like have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You were like still reading your book when I fell asleep, and then anyway, it still happens, guys.
It does.
To the best of us, as if we're that. Okay.
Number 5, we have been humbled a lot. I still laugh thinking about this interaction. I remember newly married, we were going to church, we had met a couple that had young kids, we had yet to have kids, and we were asking them if they wanted to go to lunch after church.
That's classic.
And they were like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. We've got to get home to get the kids. It's the kids' nap time. We got to go get home to put them down for their naps." And then they would propose some alternate days or times or whatever. And I remember on the drive home vividly being like, "We're not going to be like that when we're parents. Like, we are not going to allow our schedules to be dictated by our kids' naps."
Guys, the best parents are always the people that don't have kids yet.
Yes, or the best, the people who give the best marriage advice are the people that, haven't married yet, and you think you know it all. And I still vividly remember that and think of like, man, now me is just laughing at old me and just how naive and how arrogant and how we thought we knew so many things that we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, no, they weren't allowing their schedule to be dictated by their kids' naps. It was like, kids need to nap. And if your kids don't nap,
they were for right reasons, because that's the reality of life is that like sometimes you do let your kid, like your kids are in the center of your world, but if you don't let your kid nap, then everyone's up later.
It's a terrible rest of your day.
Yeah.
And that's
and
just
I
the
love that
reality
for
of it.
them, because you know what? If their kids napped at the same time after church, they may have gotten an after church nap, and that is a glorious window of parenting when you still have that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just one example, but I think that there have been multiple instances where we have been humbled, because it is really easy to have a perfect parenting strategy before you become parents. It is very easy to picture the perfect marriage relationship before you get married. And I think that the longer you are married, the more humbled you should get. Like, you should look back and be like, "Oh man, what were we thinking?" or "What were we doing?" or all that kind of stuff.
I'm just thinking there's so many things. I can't think of them all. Like, I couldn't even give good examples, but I know there are so many moments of like, wow, I really thought I had it all together then, or I really thought I knew what I was doing. And like, I was so confident in X. And it's like, we talk about this all the time. The older we get, the more we realize no one knows anything. Like, I don't actually mean that, but like, I don't know. Just if you're taking yourself really seriously on something, there's a good chance you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would say about that. But
so yeah, that's the 5th way marriage has changed us.
Number 6, we learned that love, well, I think we knew this, but we've really learned it in action.
Yeah.
That love is a choice and not a feeling. Because, I would say I went into marriage knowing that, of you commit and you choose to love someone regardless of whether you feel warm and fuzzy. Again, we didn't have like the rosiest rainbows and butterflies dating relationship, and I still like loved you and chose to love you. But marriage for sure is that. A lot of times you're just, you have a bad day and you don't want to love another person, and you got to love another person because that's what you've chosen to do.
Yeah, and I just go back to that of like, you are not going to have these deep-seated feelings of love in everything that you do, but you still choose to love. And I think the most vivid picture for me is, oh man, like, you're not excited to go get your crying baby in the middle of the night because it's like, yes, I just love my spouse so much and I feel so excited to get my baby in the middle of the night.
Wait, you have to tie those together. Those are two. You love your spouse so much.
No, I'm saying it's not like you have this like
You're saying
excitement.
like getting the baby is serving yourself.
Yes, getting the baby is serving and is an act of love, but it's not like you're going to be eager to do that. It's not like you have this feeling that drives you to do that. It is a choice to do that.
That's where, nothing drives me more crazy than the like, I just fell out of love with them. And
yeah.
Like, sorry, then that just means you stopped choosing to love them, because it's that hokey like Hobby Lobby sign type thing to say love is an action, not a feeling. But it's true. It's like, it's not this emotional that like, I would say that's more infatuation, or those are good things. Like, to feel those like affection for
Yeah.
somebody is good. I want to feel affection for you, but loving you is me choosing to die to myself and make a choice that is more in your interest. That is love.
Yeah, exactly. And I just go back to scripture of like, what greater love
Than this.
than this, that one would lay down his life for his friends, you know? And just choosing to lay down your life, to sacrifice your desires for the sake of someone else, like that is the greatest picture of love, and that is what we're called to do in marriage. And don't get me wrong, that like you were saying, I think there are still those feelings of infatuation. There are still those feelings of deep
I don't know if
emotional
infatuation
love.
is a good one. I have to look that one up.
Okay.
But affection.
Like these deep feelings of affection and love, but they are not prevalent 100% of the time. And even when they are not prevalent, like those feelings don't dictate what you do or don't do for your spouse. Like your love for them, like the true meaning of the word love for them, dictates what you do, and your desire to lay down your life for your spouse, lay down your own desires. And it goes back to, like, we talk about the best marriages, and obviously for imperfect humans this doesn't work out most of the time, but the most perfect marriage is when each spouse is individually seeking to put the needs of their spouse ahead of their own. Like they are thinking of, how can I serve my spouse? How can I love them well? More than how can they love me well? How can they serve me? And when both spouses are truly doing that, that is like the most beautiful picture of marriage that we get.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah.
Do you have a 1 degree shift?
1 degree shift. I would say that if you are not doing this already as part of your weekly marriage meeting, ask your spouse, how can I serve you well this upcoming week? That's a question that we ask weekly in our marriage meeting, but this kind of ties into a lot of what we talked here, specifically that idea of like love is a choice, not a feeling. And one way you can know how to best love your spouse is by asking them, hey, how can I best serve you this week? And then doing it.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the follow-through point. That's important. Do it.
Yeah.
All right. Hope one of these little nuggets maybe inspired you or that you relate to it. We'll catch you next week, 1 Degree fam.
Love you, 1 Degree fam.
Thanks for tuning in for this episode of the 1 Degree Podcast. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And we'd be so appreciative if you take just a few seconds to leave a rating and a quick review. We love to hear your feedback, and those ratings really do help make it easier for others to find this podcast.
And if you want to continue this chat or share your takeaways, we'd love to hear from you. Head on over to our Instagram at the 1 Degree Podcast and leave a comment or send us a DM. We can't wait to hear from you. Catch you next week, 1 Degree fam.